The first shot wasn't the scariest part. It was the silence before it. The desert stretched endlessly under the fading orange sky, the last light of day casting long shadows across the cracked earth. A military convoy moved steadily through the barren landscape, 3 armored vehicles cutting through dust and heat. Inside the lead vehicle, Staff Sergeant Emily Carter sat still, her eyes scanning the horizon through the narrow, reinforced glass. Her grip on her rifle was firm, but her instincts, they weren't calm. Something felt wrong. Not the kind of wrong you could explain, not something you could point at and say, there it is. No, this was deeper, a quiet warning, the kind that soldiers learned not to ignore. She leaned forward slightly, her voice low but sharp. Slow it down. The driver glanced at her. Ma'am? Just do it. The convoy's speed dropped. Behind her, Corporal Ruiz shifted in his seat. You seen something? Emily didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were locked on the horizon. The desert was too still. No wind, no movement, no signs of life. Even the birds were gone. That's the problem, she finally said. I'm not seeing anything. A faint unease spread through the vehicle. Ruiz exhaled. You think it's a trap? Emily's jaw tightened. I think we walked into something we don't understand yet. The radio crackled to life. Convoy Alpha, report status. Emily grabbed the mic. This is Alpha 1. We're proceeding, but something feels off. Stay sharp. Copy that. The radio went silent again. Too silent. Emily adjusted her position, her senses on high alert. Every second felt heavier than the last. And then, explosion. The world exploded. A deafening blast tore through the ground beneath the second vehicle, flipping it into the air like it weighed nothing. Fire and debris erupted into the sky. The shock wave slammed into Emily's vehicle, throwing everyone violently against their seats. Ambush! Someone screamed over the radio. Gunfire erupted instantly. Not scattered, not random, precise, coordinated, ruthless. Bullets slammed into the armored vehicle, metal ringing under the impact. The driver struggled to maintain control as more explosions ripped through the convoy. Emily didn't hesitate. Out! Out! She shouted. The doors burst open and chaos swallowed everything. She hit the ground hard, rolling behind the wreckage as bullets tore through the air above her. The sound was overwhelming. Gunfire, explosions, shouting, metal twisting, engines burning. Her training kicked in instantly. Find cover, assess, fight back. She raised her rifle and fired toward the distant flashes in the hills. The enemy was hidden, spread out, using elevation. They had the advantage. Jackson, left flank, she shouted. No response. Ruiz, report. Static. Emily's heart pounded harder. This wasn't right. Even in chaos, her team communicated. Always. She peeked over cover and froze. Through the thick smoke, she saw shadows moving. Not just shooting, dragging. Enemy soldiers were pulling her team away, fast, organized, deliberate. They're taking them, she whispered, disbelief creeping into her voice. Another explosion shook the ground nearby, forcing her back down. Her ears rang, her vision blurred for a second, but her mind locked onto one terrifying realization. This wasn't just an ambush. This was a capture operation. They didn't want them dead. They wanted them alive. No! Emily shouted, pushing forward despite the chaos. She moved between wreckage, firing in controlled bursts, trying to break through, but the enemy lines were tight. Every step forward was met with overwhelming fire. She ducked behind a burning vehicle, breathing heavily. Think. Think. But before she could act, another explosion went off just meters away. The blast threw her backward, slamming her into the ground. Her rifle slipped from her hands as pain shot through her side. For a moment, everything went quiet. No sound, no movement, just ringing. Emily struggled to breathe, her chest tightening as dust filled the air around her. She blinked, trying to focus, trying to understand what was happening. Slowly, the noise came back. Distant gunfire, fading, footsteps. Then, nothing. She forced herself up, coughing, her body aching with every movement. "Jackson?" she called out weakly. No answer. "Ruiz?" Silence. The battlefield that had been alive with chaos just moments ago was now empty. The enemy was gone. Her team was gone. Only burning wreckage remained. Emily stumbled forward, her eyes scanning desperately. "Anyone copy?" She tried into her damaged radio. Static. Crackling. Dead. Her breathing became uneven. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. She dropped to one knee, her hands trembling as the weight of the moment hit her all at once. She was alone. Completely alone. In enemy territory, with no backup, no communication, and no team. Her eyes filled with frustration, with anger, but not fear. Never fear. Because deep down, she knew something. They weren't dead. She had seen it. They were taken, which meant they were still alive. Emily clenched her fists, forcing herself to stand again. Pain shot through her side, but she ignored it. Pain didn't matter. Not now. She moved through the wreckage, quickly gathering what she could. Ammo, a sidearm, a half-broken radio. Every second mattered. If they were moving, she had a small window, a very small one. She adjusted the broken radio, hitting it against her palm. "Come on, come on." Static. Then, a flicker, a faint signal. Emily froze. "Help." Her heart skipped. She leaned closer, adjusting the frequency carefully. "They're alive. Don't let them move us." It was weak, distorted, but she knew that voice. "Ruiz," she whispered. Her grip tightened around the radio. Relief flooded in, but it was quickly replaced by urgency. "They're moving them," she said to herself. "I don't have time." She looked out at the darkening horizon. The sun was disappearing. Night was coming, and with it, her only chance. Emily picked up her rifle, her expression hardening. Every instinct screamed at her to fall back, to survive, to wait for extraction. But she wasn't leaving, not without them. "I'm coming," she said quietly, and without another second of hesitation, she stepped into the darkness, alone. The desert had changed. What once felt like open land now felt like a cage. The night swallowed everything, light, sound, hope. Only shadows remained, and somewhere within those shadows, Emily's team was being taken further away. Staff Sergeant Emily Carter moved silently across the broken terrain, her boots barely making a sound against the cracked ground. The faint glow of the moon gave her just enough visibility to move, but not enough to feel safe. Her breathing was steady, controlled, but her mind was racing. "They're alive," she whispered to herself, gripping the broken radio tighter. "They have to be." The weak signal she'd heard earlier echoed in her head. Ruiz's voice. Faint, broken, but real. That one moment changed everything. This wasn't about survival anymore. This was a rescue mission. Emily dropped to one knee, examining the ground carefully. Tracks. Fresh. Multiple boots, heavy gear, and something else. Drag marks. Her jaw tightened. They're injured. That meant they were slowing down, and that meant she still had a chance. She followed the trail carefully, using the darkness as her cover. Every step was calculated, every movement deliberate. The desert wasn't quiet anymore. Now it whispered danger. A distant engine, faint voices, metal clinking. They weren't far. Emily crouched behind a cluster of broken stone, her eyes narrowing as she spotted movement ahead. Lights. Dim, moving slowly. A convoy. Her pulse quickened. That's them. She adjusted her rifle, scanning the area. At least 2 vehicles, maybe more. Armed guards, and in the back, she saw them. Her team. Bound. Heads down, barely moving. A wave of emotion hit her. Relief, anger, determination, all at once. "They're alive," she breathed. But she couldn't rush in, not like this, not alone. That would be suicide. She backed away slowly, disappearing into the darkness again. Think, plan, execute. That was the only way. Minutes later, Emily moved along the edge of a ruined structure overlooking the convoy's path. Broken walls, collapsed ceilings, the perfect place for an ambush. Her kind of battlefield. She quickly scanned her gear. Low ammo, 1 grenade, knife, and her training. "That's enough," she whispered. The convoy drew closer. Voices became clearer. Enemy soldiers talking casually, unaware of what was coming. One of them laughed. "Thou won't last long. Command wants them alive, for now." Emily's grip tightened on her rifle. For now. That meant time was running out. She waited, still, silent, patient. The first vehicle rolled into position, then the second. Now. Boom! The explosion ripped through the front of the convoy, sending flames and debris into the night. Chaos erupted instantly. "Ambush!" someone shouted. Gunfire followed. But this time, Emily controlled the chaos. She opened fire from above, taking down 2 guards before they even knew where she was. Move, reposition, shoot, disappear. Her movements were precise, calculated, deadly. She wasn't just attacking, she was dismantling them. But then, something went wrong. A spotlight snapped on, bright, blinding, locked on her position. "There!" an enemy soldier shouted. Gunfire rained toward her, instantly. Emily dropped behind cover, bullets tearing through the wall above her. "They're faster than I thought." She rolled to the side, grabbing her rifle, and fired back. 1 down, another, but more kept coming. She peeked again and saw something that made her heart drop. The prisoners, her team, were being moved out of the vehicles. Faster now, rushed, panicked. "They're relocating them," she realized. Her attack had forced their hand, and now they were speeding up. "No, no, no," Emily muttered, pushing forward. She couldn't lose them now, not after getting this close. She jumped down from the structure, hitting the ground hard but steady. Ignoring the pain, she moved fast, closing the distance between her and the convoy. Gunfire followed her. Bullets kicked up dirt around her feet, but she didn't stop, couldn't stop. Then she heard it. A voice, weak, barely there. "Emily." She froze for a split second. That voice. It was Ruiz, alive, close. Her eyes locked on a nearby building, half destroyed, barely standing. The voice came from inside. Without thinking, she broke off from the fight and rushed towards it. Inside was dark, silent, too silent. "Ruiz?" she whispered. No answer. Her grip tightened on her weapon as she stepped deeper inside. Every instinct screamed at her. Something wasn't right. And then, a sound behind her. Too close, too fast. A hand grabbed her from the shadows. Violent, sudden. A blade pressed against her throat. Cold, unforgiving. "Don't move," a voice whispered. Not loud, not angry. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Emily froze. Her breathing slowed. Her mind sharpened. She could feel the attacker behind her. Strong grip, steady hand, trained. Not just a soldier, something more. "You should have left when you had the chance," the voice said quietly. For a moment, everything stood still. The war outside, the gunfire, the chaos, all of it faded, because in this moment, it was just her, and the enemy holding a blade to her throat. But Emily Carter wasn't just any soldier. She didn't panic. She didn't freeze. She adapted. Her fingers tightened slightly. Her body shifted just enough, waiting, timing, calculating. 1 move. That's all she needed. The blade pressed against her throat didn't tremble. Whoever was behind her was trained, precise, deadly. But so was she. For a fraction of a second, time slowed. Emily's breathing became controlled, measured. Her eyes shifted slightly, scanning what little she could see, the angle of the arm, the pressure of the blade, the stance behind her. Strong grip, right-handed, close range, confident, too confident. "You should have left," the voice whispered again, colder this time. That was his mistake. Talking. In one explosive motion, Emily moved. Her elbow slammed backward with force, striking the attacker's ribs. The grip loosened just enough. She twisted. Fast. Her hand locked onto his wrist, forcing the blade away from her throat. The knife sliced the air harmlessly. She turned fully and fired. A suppressed shot echoed in the tight space. The attacker dropped instantly. Silence. Heavy. Sharp. Final. Emily stepped back, breathing hard, her weapon still raised. Her eyes stayed locked on the body for a moment longer, just in case. But he didn't move. "Not tonight," she whispered. Outside, gunfire still raged. Shouts echoed through the ruins. Her attack had thrown the enemy into chaos, but not for long. They were regrouping, adapting, and soon they'd overwhelm her. Emily moved quickly, dragging the body deeper into the shadows. She crouched beside it, scanning for intel. Weapons, ammo, radio. She grabbed everything useful. Every advantage mattered now. Then, the radio on the fallen soldier crackled. "All units, perimeter breach. Find her, now." Her jaw tightened. They know. Emily stood, her mind already shifting gears. No more stealth. No more hesitation. They were hunting her now. A faint sound broke through the chaos. A groan. Weak. Barely audible. Emily froze, then turned, slowly. "Ruiz?" she whispered. She moved deeper into the building, her steps careful but urgent. The darkness wrapped around her, thick and suffocating. Then she saw him. Corporal Ruiz lay against a broken wall, his body bruised, his uniform torn, blood staining his side. His breathing was shallow, uneven, but he was alive. Hey, stay with me," Emily said, dropping to her knees beside him. His eyes opened slightly. "You came," he muttered weakly. A flicker of relief crossed her face. "I told you I would." She quickly assessed his injuries. Bad, but survivable, if they moved. Now. "Can you stand?" she asked. He tried and failed. Pain shot through him, and he collapsed back with a groan. "All right, okay," Emily said, thinking fast. "We do this my way." She pulled him up, wrapping his arm over her shoulder. He was heavy, but adrenaline pushed her forward. Step by step, they moved. Outside, the battlefield had changed. Lights scanned the area. Enemy soldiers spread out, searching, closing in. "They're everywhere," Ruiz whispered. "I know," Emily replied calmly. "That's why we don't stop." She guided him through the ruins, using broken walls and shadows as cover. Every movement was calculated. Every second mattered. Then, a voice echoed nearby. "Check that building." Too close. Emily's eyes darted around. Options. Few. Risky. She spotted it. A collapsed structure, barely standing, offering just enough cover. "Inside," she whispered. They slipped in just as footsteps approached outside. Voices. Closer. Emily gently lowered Ruiz to the ground, then turned, raising her weapon toward the entrance. Her breathing slowed. Her finger rested on the trigger. One step inside, and she'd fire. The footsteps stopped, right outside. "Clear?" one soldier asked. A pause. Then, "Clear." The footsteps faded. Emily exhaled slowly, but she knew this wouldn't last. "They're locking the area down," she said quietly. "We're running out of time." Ruiz looked at her, his voice weak but steady. "The others, they took them. North side, old compound." Emily's eyes sharpened. "How many?" "A lot." Of course, it wouldn't be easy. It was never easy, but she had a location now, a target. She stood, checking her weapon again. Low ammo, one mag left, a few rounds in the sidearm. Not enough. Unless... Her eyes shifted toward the distance, the direction of the compound. Then back to Ruiz. "We're not running," she said. He looked at her confused. "What?" "We're going after them." Ruiz stared at her for a moment, then let out a weak, almost disbelieving laugh. "You're serious?" Emily's expression didn't change. "I'm not leaving anyone behind." Silence hung between them. Then Ruiz nodded slowly. "I figured you'd say that." A faint smile touched his lips, but it faded quickly, because reality hit hard. They were 2 soldiers, 1 injured, low on ammo, deep in enemy territory, and they were about to walk straight into the heart of it. "Then we do it smart," Emily said sharply. "We don't fight them head on. We break them from the inside." She moved toward the edge of the structure, peeking out. The enemy's search pattern was tightening, but there were gaps, weaknesses, openings. That's all she needed. "Stay close," she told Ruiz. "I don't exactly have a choice," he muttered. Despite everything, she almost smiled again. Then, "Pew!" An explosion lit up in the distance, bright, violent, from the direction of the compound. Emily froze. Her eyes widened. "That's not us," Ruiz whispered. No, it wasn't, which meant something else was happening, something bigger. Reinforcements? Another unit? Or something worse. Emily's grip tightened on her weapon, because whatever was happening out there, it just changed the mission again. The explosion in the distance burned through the night like a signal. Bright, violent, unmistakable. Emily Carter didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the horizon, where flames now rose from the enemy compound, the same place her team was being held. But she hadn't caused that explosion, which meant someone else was there. "That's not part of your plan, right?" Ruiz asked weakly from behind her. Emily shook her head slowly. "No." Her mind raced. Options, possibilities, threats. If another force was attacking the compound, it could mean chaos, an opportunity, or it could mean something worse, a trap within a trap. "We move," Emily said suddenly, her voice firm. Ruiz looked at her, surprised. "Toward that?" "Yes, that's insane." Emily turned, her eyes steady, unshaken. "It's our only chance." There was no argument after that, because deep down, he knew she was right. Step by step, they moved through the darkness, closing the distance between them and the burning compound. The closer they got, the louder it became. Gunfire, explosions, shouting, chaos. But something felt different this time. Uncontrolled, unpredictable. Emily crouched behind a ridge overlooking the compound, and what she saw changed everything. The enemy base was under full assault, not by soldiers, not by reinforcements, but by another armed group. Unmarked, fast, brutal. "They're tearing it apart," Ruiz whispered. Emily's eyes narrowed. This isn't a rescue. It wasn't. It was a raid, a takeover. Whoever they weren't there to save anyone, which meant her team was in even more danger. "We go in now," Emily said. Ruiz stared at her. Through that, Emily checked her weapon. 1 magazine, a few rounds. That was it. "We don't have time for anything else." And before he could respond, she moved. The battlefield exploded around them. Gunfire lit up the night sky as Emily and Ruiz slipped into the chaos. The 2 enemy forces were too focused on each other to notice them. That was her advantage, and she used it. She moved like a shadow, silent, precise, deadly. 1 enemy dropped before he could turn. Another followed seconds later. She didn't stop, didn't hesitate. "Stay behind me," she whispered to Ruiz. They moved through broken walls, burning debris, and scattered bodies. The compound was collapsing into madness. No structure, no control, just survival. Then Emily saw it, the holding area, a reinforced section of the compound, partially intact, guards still posted, prisoners inside. Her team. Her heart hit hard against her chest. They're there. But so were enemies. Too many. She counted quickly. 5 outside, unknown inside, low ammo, injured partner, no backup. The odds were impossible. But Emily Carter didn't believe in impossible. Emily said quietly, kneeling beside him, "If this goes wrong, it won't," he cut in, his voice weak but firm. She held his gaze for a moment, then nodded. "Cover me." Before he could question it, she moved. Emily stepped into the open and fired. 2 guards dropped instantly. Chaos erupted. "Contact!" someone shouted. Gunfire exploded toward her, but she didn't stop. She pushed forward, fast, relentless. Another shot, another enemy down. She used every bit of cover, every movement, every second. Behind her, Ruiz fired what little he could, creating just enough distraction. It was working, barely. Emily reached the entrance, kicked it open, and rushed inside. Dark, tight, silent. Then, movement. Her team, weak, bound, but alive. "Emily?" one of them whispered, disbelief in his voice. She cut their restraints quickly. "We're getting out." No time, no hesitation. But just as they moved, the alarm screamed. Too loud, too sudden. "They know we're here," Ruiz said, stumbling in behind them. Emily turned and saw them, enemies flooding toward the entrance. Dozens. Too many. Her team looked at her. Fear, exhaustion, hope. All waiting for one thing, a way out. Emily's mind moved faster than ever, calculating, adapting, choosing. Then she made the call. "We run." Gunfire erupted instantly. The escape was chaos. Bullets tore through walls. Explosions shook the ground. The compound was falling apart around them. Emily led from the front, clearing the path, taking the hits, making the decisions. "Move! Move!" she shouted. One by one, they pushed forward, through fire, through smoke, through death. But the enemy didn't stop. They kept coming, closer, faster. Then a bullet slammed Emily's vest. She stumbled, fell to one knee, her breath knocked out. "Emily!" someone shouted, but she forced herself up, ignoring the pain, ignoring everything. "Keep moving," she yelled. They were almost out, almost, and then the sky roared. Helicopters, loud, powerful, unstoppable. Gunfire rained down from above, tearing through enemy lines. The battlefield shifted instantly. The attacking force scattered. The remaining enemies broke. Rescue. Finally. Emily slowed, her body giving in, her strength fading. As her team reached safety, she dropped to her knees, then to the ground. The world blurred, sounds faded, but through it all, she saw them, her team, alive, safe. That was enough. When Emily opened her eyes again, the sun was rising. Soft light stretched across the horizon, calm, peaceful, like the war had never happened. Her team stood nearby, bruised, exhausted, but alive. Ruiz stepped closer, a faint smile on his face. "You really don't know when to quit, do you?" Emily let out a quiet breath. "Not when it matters." Another teammate looked at her, his voice filled with respect. "You came back for us." Emily met his eyes, steady, unshaken. "I said I would." Silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It was earned.